Hello. As directed, I, Kim Dalton, Town Clerk for the Town of Woolwich in the County of Saginaw and the State of Maine, have warned and notified the inhabitants of Woolwich who are qualified by law to vote in town affairs to assemble at this time and place for the purpose of acting on the articles listed in the warrant dated on the 29th day of April in the year 2026. Attested copies of the warrant have been posted at the Woolwich Municipal Building, the Woolwich Post Office, and at the Woolwich Central School, all being public and conspicuous places in the town of Woolwich. Article 1, to choose a moderator to preside at this meeting. Do I hear a nomination for moderator?
I nominate Mike. Second.
Second. Any other nominations?
I move the nominations closed.
Hearing none, we will now vote. I declare Mike Field as being elected to serve as moderator for this meeting. Mike, will you come and take the oath, please? Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Michael Field, do swear and affirm that I will support the Constitution of the United States and of this state, so long as I shall continue a citizen thereof. So help me God. I do swear or affirm that I will faithfully discharge to the best of my abilities the duties incumbent upon me as moderator of this meeting according to the Constitution and the laws of the state, so help me God.
According to the Constitution and the laws of the state, so help me God.
Yeah.
All right, good evening and welcome to the 2026 Woolwich Town Meeting. For those that are able, can we please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we have a few announcements and a couple presentations, and then we'll get into the warrant. First, we have a few speakers, and I'd first like to introduce Marla Davis in regards to the Transportation Network.
Thanks so much. Thanks so much, and good evening. A year ago, we presented the idea of a volunteer transportation program and its beginnings here in Woolwich. And I want to tell you that after 1 year, we've had continuous success and increase in numbers. This past month, we gave 48 two-way rides to people from Woolwich, which is just an incredible number, considering that it's only been a year. So I'm here tonight to continue to let people know about the appropriateness of our Woolwich citizens to take these rides for medical purposes, groceries, physical therapy, cardiac rehab. Those are all the types of things that we're taking people to right now. So if you expect to have a need coming up, or if you know somebody who does, I have some cards to hand out at the end of the meeting, and it has the name and number of the person to contact. We have a coordinator. Her name is Jennifer O'Grady, and she can explain the program. I want to put a special encouragement out there today because we also have need for more drivers, and that's because we're so successful. So if there are any of you who are of a mind to drive people to and or from these appointments, we'd love to hear from you. And Jennifer O'Grady, again, is the person to talk with. So think about how you might want to contribute to the community through this program. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Marla. I'd like to next introduce Nancy Hemingway with the Climate Resiliency Committee.
Hi, I'm Nancy Hemingway. I live over on Murphy's Corner Road where I grew up. Luckily, I was able to come back. And I'm really excited to tell you about this Climate Resilience Committee. We're looking at not just now, but the future and how the weather and our environment is changing and what kinds of things can we maybe be prepared for. So we have a survey. These went out to every home address, and it tells you how to do the survey. And we need to know what it is that is of concern to all of you. It's a, what's the official words here? It is a state-funded climate vulnerability assessment and action plan to prepare our town for local climate impacts and improve safety for residents, infrastructure, and environment. There was another committee a couple of years ago, and they came up with the funding to deal with the flooding at the dike. So it's looking at what the needs are here. There's a whole list of possibles that you might think of. If there are things that you're aware of in your area that need to be addressed, that's part of the survey. It isn't just to respond to what we have there, but if you could tell us of your concerns or interests. And it may be that you're worried about ticks, or you're worried about flooding, or whether the fire department can get down your road because of all the trees growing across. But whatever it is, if you can fill this out, we have till May 8th, and then we have to take and put the numbers together and try to come up with a plan. So we really want you all to participate in that process. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to introduce Debbie Locke. She's going to talk about the food bank.
Just a reminder that the rural mail carriers will have their annual food drive on the Saturday before Mother's Day, which is a week from this Saturday. So that if you want to put out non-perishable foods for them to pick up, that's the day to do it. Also, a town Memorial Day service will not be held this year. Interest, as evidenced by lack of attendance, just isn't there. So the annual Veterans Day service will be held on November 11th, and we encourage everyone to attend. And if you are interested in being on a team of people to welcome visitors to the Woolwich Historical Society Museum this summer, we would love to have you be part of that team, and you can sign up at the table over there. Thank you.
Thank you, Debbie. I'd like to introduce Jennifer Rich Smith, the RSU1 Board Representative.
Hello, good evening, everyone. I am still your school board representative, as I've been for the last 13 years, and I continue to try to serve our community and our children as best that I can. Just a couple of dates that are kind of important as we work through this school budget. We have a meeting on Monday, which is when the board officially takes the school budget and says this is what we're going to present. And then the next really big meeting is going to be on May 26th. That's when the district comes out and decides if they want to increase or decrease the budget that's before them. Last year was the first year at the district meeting that the budget was increased by a group of people because they wanted to have a staff position added back into the budget. So at that district meeting, the school board no longer has the budget. It goes out to the people and they can do with it whoever shows up, whatever they want to do. As you can see in the documentation, your school budget is the largest portion of the increase and what we're working with. It's a hard battle to want to provide the best we can do for our children and also respect that these constant increases are getting harder and harder for our taxpayers to pay. I keep asking our budget, how can we save more money and still provide the same services for our students? And it's a difficult thing, and I hold both interests really dear in my heart. But please attend the budget meetings at the school board if you can. They're at 6 o'clock, so they're in the evenings, and they just really need to hear people's voices and saying, we want to do our best, but there's only maybe so much more we can afford every year, if that's how you feel. And always available to answer any questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Jennifer. We will now have the Spirit of America Award, and I'll introduce our Vice Chair of the Select Board, Jason Shaw, and Select Board Member and State House of Representative, Allison Hepler.
So, as many of you may remember, the Spirit of America Award is given out every year to a volunteer in the town, because volunteers, to a large extent, keep us going. In the town report, for the first time, we were able to dig out every Spirit of America Award winner, and there's that list in the town report if you're interested. So for Woolwich Spirit of America 2026, Mary King, would you come forward? Whereas, you've seen her nearly every year at Woolwich Day, handling the high finances of lemonade, hot dogs, and hamburgers, and
whereas her devotion to this town, including being treasurer of the Woolwich Historical Society, and
whereas she is active in the Riverside Cemetery Association, so she knows where the bodies are buried, and
whereas she has been an instrumental member of the Maine Obsolete Auto League, and
whereas you seldom see her as a volunteer working in town without her husband as a willing and cheerful partner. So if he's here, he could also come forward. I know. And
whereas, we're right here, right? Okay, so whereas you've seen her for 50 years or more.
You're telling my age?
Patiently working the town's elections, doing whatever needs to be done, and obviously tonight, help check folks in. Therefore,
be it resolved that the town of Woolwich confers the 2026 Spirit of America Award on Mary King on this day, the 29th of April, 2026. And during Woolwich Day, when she's helping with the hamburgers and hot dogs, she and her husband are celebrating their wedding anniversary, and this year it will be 71. Now go back to work.
The next presentation is going to be the VFW Voice of Democracy Award. Is there any objection for the next two speakers that are from out of town to speak on behalf of this award? Seeing none, I'd like to introduce VFW members Maggie Weber and also Nick Hamlin, please.
Good evening. My name is Maggie Webert, and I am representing the Veterans of Foreign Wars, Bath Post 7738. With me, I have Nick Hamlin, a member, our district commander, Ed Harmon. Our district is 7, which represents all veterans of foreign wars in the Mid-Coast region. And then our post commander, Fred Libby from Bath. I have the honor of introducing Olivia Druniak, a recently registered Woolwich resident and a senior at Morris High School. Olivia won the 2025-2026 Voice of Democracy National Scholarship with her audio essay on How Are You Showing Patriotism and Support for Our Country? Each year, nearly 28 1,000 students through grades 9 through 12 from across the country enter to win this scholarship program for their share of more than $1.6 million in scholarships. Olivia is the first student ever from Maine to win this national scholarship. Olivia has won over $35,000 from this scholarship program. Earlier this month, she represented our great state at the Founding Forward's Spirit of America Youth Leadership Program in Valley Forge in Pennsylvania. And she's also been invited to present her audio essay at the Veterans of Foreign Wars National Conference in Reno, Nevada this summer. We appreciate this young lady immensely. You all should be very proud.
Lady, on behalf of the town of Woolwich and the Woolwich Select Board, we'd like to present you with this certificate and wish you good luck in your future endeavors, and we're very proud of you. Congratulations.
We're so happy.
All right, I'm going to read the ground rules for tonight's town meeting. If you wish to speak, wait until the moderator has opened the floor to public comments. When the moderator has recognized you, stand, state your name for the record, the agenda item, and nature of your business. Please refrain from discussion on the article if you have a conflict of interest in any article. The moderator will not entertain public comment about specific individuals. The moderator has the right to set a time limit for comments. Be prepared to state your business in a brief and concise manner. During a public meeting, only the subject matter can be discussed. Comments should always be courteous. Personal and accusatory comments are out of order. Profanity, disorderly language, or gestures at meetings are prohibited. At no time will the public be allowed to argue, debate, or introduce a topic that is not on the agenda. During discussion, the audience shall not disturb the proceedings by loud whispering, talking, or other distractions. And if no objection, I'm going to allow town staff from out of town to speak tonight at tonight's meeting. I want to introduce our runner tonight. This is Tegan Rand to my left. Tegan has joined the town office, and she's our deputy tax collector and deputy town clerk. So thanks, Tegan. So that means, if you're not going up to there and I've recognized you, just give a minute to get the mic to you so that everybody in the room can hear you, and make sure everybody's comments are taken. All right, and now I want to introduce our board chair, David King.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming. We do appreciate seeing all you people here. I wanted to talk to you real quickly about taxes. It's not a popular subject, but it's one we've got to discuss tonight. This year's municipal budget is $2,838,959, which is $25,826 over last year's budget. But if you stop and think about it, last year we cut the budget $50,000, so we're still $25,000 less than we were the year before. This modest increase is because of some increases in some municipal areas and decreases in others. And it's an indication of how closely we work to keep your taxes down. As you know, our property tax bill also includes RSU 1 in Saginaw County. This year's town share of the county budget is $1.3 million, which is 9.8% increase over last year's $1.1 million. Woolwich is projected to pay the RSU 1 this year $5,100,000 $961,000. And that's an 8.9% increase over last year. Keep in mind that these numbers are not final yet. The municipal budget will be finalized tonight by the vote of the residents who are present. The RSU1 budget validation ballot is in June 9th, and the county assessment will be presented to the town after the commissioners vote in May. While the actual property tax bill will not be available until September, here are some helpful figures. Last year, the town got 30 cents on every dollar. The county got 12 cents on every dollar, and the school got 58 cents on every dollar, which meant that we ran the town on 30 cents out of every dollar that you send in for taxes. The 2026-27 budget is projected that the town will get 28 cents on the dollar, the county will get 13, and the school will get 59. The town budget last year, as I said earlier, was $2.8 million. The county was $1.14 million, and the school was $5.4. They're up to $838, $25,000 on the town, $1.3 million to the county, and $5,960,000 for the school. So if it, you know, it's hard because every time I'm over to Shaw's grocery store or in the hardware store or something, people come up and say, "You spend too much money." And what I try to tell people and get them to understand is that last year 70 cents out of every dollar went to the other side of the bridge. And this year it's going to be even worse. So we have so little control over the budget. We ran a mock tax assessment standard form today, just to see how things would work out. And we had to guesstimate a lot of this. So a lot of this may not be 100% accurate, but I just wanted to give you somewhat of an indication. If everything goes the way we think it's going to go, the average house, let's say a $450,000 house, you're going to see a $400 tax increase this year. And not one bit of that is because of the municipal budget. So we are trying. I've got a darn good board up here. These people work very hard, and we squeeze every dollar as tight as we can to get as much as we can out of it. But that's where we're at, and you know, we just can't keep sustaining these 8, 9, 10% increases from the parts of the budget that we can't control. So I'm going to urge everybody, come June 9th, vote no on the school budget one time. Maybe if we said no once, they'd go back, sharpen their pencils a little more. It is my personal opinion that in a $45 million budget, there has to be a few wants. I don't believe that's all needs. That's my comment on taxes tonight.
All right, thank you, David. All right, now we're going to begin going through the warrant. So I'm going to bundle Articles 2 through 4, but I do want to remind anyone that we can pull any article out. You'll have an opportunity to discuss any of them, but we can pull one out separately if needed. Article 2, to see if the town will set the dates of October 30th, 2026 and April 30th, 2027, when taxes are due and payable, to see if the town will fix the interest rate on unpaid taxes at 7% per annum, 36 MRSA subsection 505.4, and to set the dates that interest starts on unpaid taxes 30 days after each due date. Article 3, to see if the town will vote to set an interest rate to be paid by the town on taxes that have been paid, but are either abated or overpaid and refunded at 3.5% for the 2026-2027 tax year per 36 MRSA subsection 506-A. And Article 4, to see if the town will vote to transfer all unexpended balances and overdrafts to the undesignated fund balance, except those that may be carried forward at the Select Board's discretion. The Select Board is authorized to expend funds out of these carry-forward accounts for the purpose for which they were established or allow them to lapse.
Move that the first four articles be accepted and read.
Do I have a second? Articles 2 through 4 have been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 2, 3, and 4 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 2, 3, and 4 passed. Article 5, to see if the town will vote to authorize the tax collector to offer a 2027 tax club plan to taxpayers who enroll no later than July 1st, 2026, who pay the total amount of their 2026-2027 taxes by monthly payments from July 2026 to June 30th, 2027, who abide by the requirements of said plan, who shall receive from the town, in return for such payments, full credit for such taxes paid without incurring any charge of interest.
Move the article be accepted and read.
Second motion?
Article's been moved and seconded on the floor. First, I want to recognize our town administrator, Kim Dalton.
Hello. So this is the first year that we've enacted this tax club policy. I had some information over on the table when you came in. So this is a tax club that will allow people to make monthly payments without interest accruing throughout the whole year. So your first payment will start in June, and what we will do is take your taxes that you are paying now, and you'll pay up until the tax commitment. And if the tax commitment either is a little higher or a little lower, depending on the mill rate, we will adjust your taxes accordingly. There will be a tax booklet that you will get, and you will have to pay your monthly payments on the 15th of every month. This really will benefit a lot of people who, struggle paying their biannual taxes when they don't have an escrow. So this will keep us from accruing any interest on the taxes. So if anybody's interested, there were flyers over on the table, a sign-up sheet. The tax club policy is attached to it. If you have any questions, please reach out to the town office and ask for me, and we can get you signed up. And we're just trying to do everything we can. Keep our taxes down and helping everybody out.
Thank you, Kim. Any further discussion on Article 5? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 5 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 5 passes. I am going to bundle Article 6A through D. Article 6A, to see what sum the town will vote to appropriate from the undesignated fund balance account to reduce the tax commitment. Note, the select board recommends up to $1,300,000, the same recommendation last year. B, to see if the town will vote to authorize the tax collector or treasurer to accept prepayments of taxes not yet committed pursuant to 36 MRSA subsection 506.
Move the article as read.
I got two more. Hang on. C, to see if the town will vote to appropriate up to $20,000 from the undesignated fund balance account to pay for abatements and applicable interest granted during the fiscal year. Last year's appropriation, $20,000. And D, to grant the select board the permission to remove up to $50,000 from the undesignated fund balance in the event of a state or federal declared emergency and/or disaster.
Now I accept the article as read.
Second motion?
Motion's been made and seconded to place the article on the floor. Any discussion? Yes.
I'll read that right on if you want.
Okay,
Yep. So,
11 feet, one swig road.
come close, come close.
Is the 225 number accurate for 6A?
6A says up to 1.
Yes.
6A says up to 1.3 million. Is that what you're asking?
1.3 million, that's the
Yes.
accurate number.
Yeah. So last year, this past year, Tom, you took 1.1 million.
Yes. According to the audit report, my bill grew up September 2025 on page 102. It says the town appropriated $1,500,000 for that account. Is that accurate?
That would be the previous year.
2025.
It is accurate.
But what you said. You budgeted 1.3 million. The audit said you spent 1.5.
That was the previous.
Is that the accurate number?
It is, that was the previous year.
Previous year said we would 1.3 also, didn't it?
No, I think it said 1.5. Right, Kim, we went down.
Yeah.
We-
It was 1.5 in your
Last year we
Right.
went down to 1.3, and we're down to 1.3 this year.
Right, but we only took 1.1. It says up to, as you,
We took 1.1, the audit said 1.5.
but isn't the audit reflect the year before?
September 2025 was the audit that
But it was for the,
That is for the
that your
previous.
number says where it came from.
right, but that should be for the year before though. That was
That
the,
audit is.
Right, that's what I'm looking at. The year before was what you said it was 1.3 million last year.
but Todd, we're still in the same year, right? So 1 year ago right now, we did the 1.3 million approval. We only took 1.1. The 1.5 audit is for the previous year. So this year hasn't been audited yet.
Right.
If you had a book 2 years old, you would see that we asked for 1.5 million that year.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 6, A through D, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 6, A through D passes. Article 7, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to apply for available grants, to receive said grants, and to expend the grant funds for the purposes stated in the grant, and to see if the town will vote to appropriate up to $40,000 from the undesignated fund balance account as the town's share of any approved grants.
Would the article be accepted as read?
Second motion?
Article has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes. Just come into the mic. Come in with your regular 100.
My apologies, I have a broken rib. Okay, so this is just, gotta take my glasses off so I can read. All right, Article 7 authorizes applying for and accepting grants and appropriates up to $40,000 from the undesignated fund balance as the town's match. So I'd like to ask a quick question on Article 7 about our approach to grant funding, especially for things like roads, drainage, and other community projects. This would be especially for anybody that's driven somewhere and their roads flooding and culverts need fixing. My core question is, I see we've set aside about $40,000, which is what you're covering here and trying to motion on, for grant matching. Have we looked at whether, here's the question, have we looked at whether increasing that amount could help us bring in more outside funding? Because there are a lot of grants in the state of Maine and federal grants that will match us. And in the long run, we will end up paying out less money to have things, infrastructure here paid for in Woolwich. My understanding is that many state and federal grants, like the community development block grants, require a local match. So say you vote on this $40,000, you can get a block match for another $40,000. So if you have an $80,000 project, we're only paying $40,000. Okay, so the amount we set aside locally directly impacts how much funding we can access. And again, that's that $40,000. I just wanted to throw in there, also there's other grants out there matching. Volunteer Fire Capacity Program grant was one of them, which I'm passionate about the fire department. Even though I'm no longer a volunteer, I was for almost 15 years. They provide wildland fire equipment, personal protective equipment. Here's a real example of grant matching. We have $200,000 road or culvert project, which Jason here would know that things do cost money to fix. Without a grant, the town pays the full $200,000. With a a grant covering 75 to 80% of the town might only have to pay 40,000 to 50,000 instead of the whole 200,000. I'm just looking ahead here. I know we don't want more taxes. This might help in the future. That could save over $150,000 on one single project. So, to expand the opportunity, these types of grants don't just apply to roads, they can also support infrastructure improvements like culverts and drainage, housing rehabilitation for residents, especially those on a fixed income in our aging community, public facilities and community spaces. So this isn't just about one project, it can apply across multiple needs in the town of Woolwich. If we don't have enough funding available, we may not qualify for certain grants, or our applications may be less competitive compared to other towns. So having that funding ready can make a real difference. So we are already spending a significant amount of money on roads and infrastructure. So I'm wondering if more of those costs could be offset through grants if we had a more match funding available. So even a modest increase in matching funds could reduce the burden on taxpayers over time, which we are looking at a lot of tax raises years to come. And then finishing up, are there projects that are currently funded locally and that might qualify for grants if we had additional match available? Are we investing enough in bringing outside money into the town or relying on too much on local dollars, our money? So if we're using fund balance to manage costs this year, could increasing grant funding help reduce those costs in the future? So I would like to make a motion. A small increase in grant matching could bring in significantly more funding than it costs us as residents in the town of Woolwich. Therefore, I move to amend Article 7 to increase the appropriation.
Ma'am, we can't increase the article. We can only decrease the article. I didn't mean to cut you off, I just don't want you to.
Okay.
Yeah, it's up to, and we're not allowed to increase it.
Okay, I would like to see in the future with this $40,000 grant to do some grant matching.
We, for years, only had $20,000 for grants. We bumped it up to $40,000 2-3 years ago. And so far, that has been adequate. For example, all the work you see being done down on the George Wright Road, we're gonna move the end of the Nequassett Road and all of that. We got 100% grant funding on all of that. It's tax dollars, but it's federal tax dollars, not local tax dollars. So we tried, and our fire department is very active in getting grants. And so far, we've found the $40,000 to be more than adequate. But if it turns out in the future that that is not, we certainly will ask you people for more out of that account. But we cannot increase it tonight.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so just to follow up real quickly, we actually have a grant that's being submitted on Friday for a large culvert engineering project up on the Hedge Bridge Road. The town's match is 5%, and if we're awarded, we'll get $68,000 to start preliminary engineering for down the road. Fire and EMS take advantage of this regularly, and we try to find, as David said, 100% grants, 90% very low match grants. We actually do very well, successful. And if you count all the things lately, it's upwards of millions of dollars. But as David said, we will up it as need to, or let you folks know.
Did I see a hand over here? Yes. Over here. Someone behind you, I think, Larry, wasn't it? Who had their hand up over here? Nobody? Okay. Yes, ma'am in the green. Yes.
I'm just wondering what we have in mind for next year or for this year that we would spend this money on. Can you repeat that? I'm sorry. I was just wondering if we had in mind what we would put this money into, what kind of grant we're looking for this year.
Frankly, the money is just available for grants, period. So this engineering grant that came up for these culvert things, I'm working with MCOG, or the board's working with MCOG on it, and so our match would be $4,000 or $5,000. We have to show that we have money available for that. Fire, Sean, the fire chief's here, they're constantly getting grants where we have to have that match, 5%, 10%, 20%. And so is the EMS director.
Unavailability.
That's right. That's right. And we only take it, so this isn't raised and appropriated, it does not affect your tax bill directly. It's just being removed as needed if needed.
Any other discussion? Yes, Larry, Mr. Paul. Let's just wait till we get the mic, please.
Yeah, this issue of grants, it sounds like it's free money. Is it free money, or is it the money that we pay in taxes to the federal government or to the state of Maine?
I think you know the answer to that. No response required.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 7 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 7 passes. I'm going to bundle Article 8A and B. Article 8A, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to sell or dispose of various items that serve little or no purpose in the operation of the town. B, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to accept donations, fines, fees established by ordinance, and revenues generated by town-provided services, and to use them as directed by the donation, ordinance, or contract, or otherwise at the select board's discretion.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion.
Article's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 8A through B signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 8A and B passes. Okay. I'm going to bundle Article 9, 1 through 5. Article 9, to see if the town will take the following actions regarding the Woolwich Fish Commission, which is charged with managing the harvesting and sale of alewives from the town and assuring compliance with Maine's DMR regulations. 1, change the term for commissioners from 5 years to 3 years. 2, the select board, upon completion of each commissioner's term, will appoint 2 seats for 1 year, 1 seat for 2 years, and 2 seats for 3 years. Subsequently, the terms will each be for 3 years. 3, the select board's appointment of commissioners will be confirmed by a vote of the town at annual town meeting. 4, the chair of the Fish Commission will be selected by the commission. And 5, funds raised by the sale of alewives will be maintained in the town's Fishway account after payment of harvesting expenses. Motion.
The article is read. Second.
Motion's been made to move and second article on the floor. Any discussion for 9, 1 through 5? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 9, 1 through 5 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 9 passes. I'm going to bundle Article 10, A through E. Article 10, to confirm the appointment of the following fish commissioners. A, Bruce R. McKelman, 1-year term, 2027. B, William D. Potter, 1-year term, 2027. C, John D. Chapman, 2-year term, 2028. D, Robert E. Stevens, 3-year term, 2029. E, Patrice Hennon, 3-year term, 2029.
Move the article be read and accepted as read.
Second the motion.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on Article 10? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 10, A through E, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 10 passes. Article 11, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board on behalf of the town to provide the former owner, owners of tax-acquired property, or if deceased, his, her, their, heirs, devisees, personal representative, 30 days to repurchase the property for a price equal to all outstanding taxes, interest, fees, and costs. If the former owner does not repurchase the property, the municipal officers may sell the property through the sale process in 36 MRSA, subsection 943-C, provided that if the former owner does not timely request that process, or the board is unable to list or sell the property as required by subsection 943C3, the board may sell the property through a competitive sealed bid process in which a notice advertising sale of the property shall be published at least twice in the newspaper of general circulation in the county for sales to someone other than the former owner or owners. Excess sale proceeds as defined in 36 MRSA subsection 943C shall be returned to the former owner.
Move the
Article has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes.
Just a question.
Hanging on, 1 second, the mic's coming. And did you state your name for us, please? For the record?
Cynthia Rugg. I'm just wondering, from those of you who've had some experience with this, is 30 days enough time to get a hold of these people and have them make this kind of commitment? I'm not a real estate person, so I don't know.
This is state law.
Oh, okay.
And to be frank with you folks, this law needs to be revisited. We have a house right now in town that the owners have died, and the heirs don't want anything to do with it. And we are having a devil, we have somebody that wants to buy the house, they've made an offer on it and everything, they're gonna tear it down, it's just turned it into a vacant lot. But we've been months trying to sell this house because this makes it so convoluted. And not only on that, if somebody doesn't pay the taxes and we take their house and sell it, then we have to do all the work. But we said we used to be able to keep whatever we sold it for, and it benefited everybody in town. Now we have to send whatever money we get over what they owed in taxes and what it costs us to run the ads and that sort of thing. We have to send it back to the previous owners. So we get to do all the work, they get the benefit, and you don't get any benefit from it. So it's a law that I hope the state revisits.
Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 11 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 11 passes. Article 12, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 for the compensation of the tax collector, deputy treasurer, deputy town clerk, and to authorize the select board to spend any amount up to $50,000. Last year's appropriation was $50,000.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article has been moved and seconded. Any discussion on Article 12? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 12 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 12 passes. Article 13, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $50,000 for the compensation of the deputy town clerk, deputy treasurer, deputy tax collector, and to authorize the select board to spend any amount up to $50,000.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 13 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 13 passes. Article 14, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $80,472 for the compensation of the town administrator, town treasurer, town clerk, and to authorize the select board to spend any amount up to $80,472. Last year was $78,280.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 14 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 14 passes. Article 15, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $10,000 for the compensation of part-time office help and to authorize the select board to spend any amount up to $10,000. Last year was $15,000.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 15 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 15 passes. Article 16, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 for the employee health insurance account. Last year was $18,000.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion?
Article has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 16 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 16 passes. I am going to bundle Articles 17, A and B, and I'll do C and D separate. Article 17A, to see what sum of money the town will vote to pay the town officers for the ensuing year.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, Mr. Longley.
I'd like to make a motion to dispense with the balance of the reading of that line-by-line items.
I second that.
There's been a motion made and seconded to suspend reading of Article 17A and B. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Do I have a motion to move the article? Yeah, move it on the floor first.
I move the article is not read.
I second the motion.
Article 17 has been moved and seconded. Do I have any discussion for Article 17A and B? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 17A and B signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. 17A and B passes. Article 17C, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $9,268 for the salary, including mileage, to the animal control officer, and to authorize the select board to spend any amount up to $9,268. Last year was $9,015. I'm just seeing these separate.
Move the article is read.
Second motion.
Article 17C has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes. You wait till we get the mic, and yes, we can use that. Thank you.
Abigail Estes. I was just questioning the overall number of calls that the animal control officer is receiving per year at that up to 9,000 range.
I don't have that information available tonight, but we will get it for you as soon as possible if you want to call it town hall.
So how is that number generated? Is it based on the hiring of an animal control officer and?
It's generated by the number of calls, complaints we get, barking dogs, loose dogs. She doesn't do wild animals, but she does. She's had several confrontations with a pig recently. So, I mean, you know, and it seems to be, we seem to have a few frequent flyers in town that can't seem to hook their dog to a leash or whatever, and can't fix the pen for the pig, but.
I see the dog licenses and the figures there for that, but in future years, it would be helpful to put a number of calls in the past year.
I believe there is a report in some ways. In the book here, there is a report from her. I don't know if it does have the number of calls and all.
Okay. Any other discussion on 17C? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 17C signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 17C passes. Article 17D, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $37,060 for the salary of the codes enforcement officer, building inspector, and licensed plumbing inspector, and authorize the select board to spend any amount up to $37,060. Last year was $36,050.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Second the motion.
17D has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 17D signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. 17D passes. Thank you. Article 18A, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate such sums of money as may be necessary for the following town accounts.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Longley.
I'd like to make a motion to dispense with the balance and the reading of each line item.
I second that motion.
Been motion made and seconded to suspend reading of Article 18. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
I move the article is accepted as presented.
I second that motion.
Article 18 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes. One moment, we'll get you the mic.
Just a question on what contingencies we might run into under contingency. What is the comprehensive plan under that one? And why does Nequasit Church suddenly need $1,000?
The town owns the Nequasit Church, as you know, it's the building across the street. And they have to pay to propane to heat it. We use it 3 times a year, and it costs money to heat it. And there's electrical bill and that sort of thing. Last year, we didn't have to appropriate any money because they had money in the account. So this year, we had to step up and give them the account. What was the second question?
What kind of contingencies would we be looking at, and what is the comprehensive plan? The select board contingency, we used that one year, several years ago, we needed to raise $200 for something. I can't remember what it was for. In order to do that, we didn't have a contingency at the time. So in order to do that, we had to have a special town meeting, which cost us $200 to raise $200. So it ended up costing us $400 to raise $200. So we have a small contingency, and we roll it over each year, unless we know for sure that we're going to run short the next year. We roll it over every year. We let it lapse in the fall, and we ask for the same amount of money the next time. It's like having some money in the cookie jar on top of the refrigerator. So when the washing machine dies, you can buy a new one before you gets us by.
Thank you.
Oh, and the comprehensive plan, we are required by the state to review the comprehensive plan every 10 years. We haven't done it in almost 20, so we figured we could put together a committee. And that's another thing, I'll give you a sales pitch on committees. We have a lot of committees in this town that are not fully staffed. If anybody here has got a little time on their hands and you want to help the town run smoothly, please come down and look at the list of committees, and maybe one there that you like.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion on Article 18? All those in favor of Article 18 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 18 passes. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $80,108 to support the operating cost of the patent-free library, and to authorize the select board to spend any amount up to $80,108. Last year was $71,506. Article has been moved and seconded.
Mr. Moderator, I'd like to make an amendment to this article.
Use your mic.
I'd like to make an amendment to this article. I'd like to reduce the dollar amount in this article from $80,108 down to $8,500. The money will be set aside at the town office for the purpose of buying a library card for anybody that says it would be a burden to purchase their own. We would handle it the same way as we do the heat assistance program. The only people that would know that we bought your card would be the people you tell, because we won't tell anyone.
Okay, an amendment has been made and seconded. So the way it goes from here is I'm gonna open it up to discussion on the amendment only. So let's start with that. Do I have any discussion on the amendment for Article 19?
I have a comment I'd like to make. To save time, I'd like to list required services, because every year when we've tried to talk about this article, everybody always jumps up and says, well, I don't have any kids in the school, but I'll pay for the school. The school is required by both federal and state law. Plowing and maintaining the roads in town is required by state law. The county tax applies to the sheriff's department. Rubbish removal or having a place for it to go is required by state law. The fire department, or having an agreement with a neighboring town for a fire department, and the fire hydrants is required by state law. The EMS department is required by state law, and testing the wells at the old dump is required by state law. So I have not found any state or federal law that says we have to support a library.
Suzanne, Ms. Gandy.
Well, I had a
You wait, okay. Just state your name for us, please.
Suzanne Gandy. I want to start by, I have more comment. But my first question was about the amendment that he read pretty quickly here. Is Dave's amendment to mean that only people who cannot afford is this, how are you, so?
We would do it just like we do the heater systems. We'd have a simple one.
So you have to qualify.
That you'd come down and fill out to show why it would be a burden for you to pay $85.
So you have to show it would be a burden.
Okay, one person at a
And
time.
we would give you a voucher and you'd get a card. And that would buy 100 cards. It is my personal opinion that about 95 to 99% of the people in Woolwich that have a library card can easily afford to pay the $85 out of their own pocket. There are 951 cards in Woolwich, 777 are for adults and 174 for children. And that is less than 1/3 of the population of Woolwich. And why should some elderly person living on Social Security see their taxes go up to pay for a private organization on the other side of the river?
Well, I think the taxes, we've been paying for the library, and I think it's what, $9,000 this year that it would be increased from last year if we did it the way that it's written in Article 19, right? Yeah, so that's about $9,000 that it would go up this year. And we've had this service all along. So what you're saying is that only people who have to show need would be able to get a library card from the town, right?
Anybody with $85 can get a library card. If you take the 951 cards and you divide $108,000 by 951 cards, we're paying $84.24 for every one of those cards right now. And that's being paid by everybody in town. The library has a
So are these other
the library has
services?
a $9 million endowment. And it's just becoming a burden. I mean, if you remember what I said at the start of the meeting, every year we're tarring less and less road because we can only come up with a certain amount of money to buy tar, okay? So that means every year, our road commissioner spends a tremendous amount of time talking to every tar company in the state of Maine to get the best deal he can to see how much road we can tar. At some point, we've got to start keeping the money on this side of the river.
And you're starting with the library.
Okay.
And to quote Calvin Coolidge, raising more tax money than is absolutely necessary is legalized robbery. And I submit to you that I haven't had a library card since 1971, and I've managed to get by quite well without it. And there's a lot of people in our town that are elderly and living on fixed income. At the end of the summer, I'm going to be 77. So I know what I'm talking about here. I was self-employed for 50 years. I have no retirement program or anything. I have my Social Security and a few investments that I've made over the years. And I don't want to get taxed out of my home.
Sir, go ahead.
Point of order. I believe the rules say do not do demonstrations and other kinds of noises. We have no politeness.
Yeah. Sir, go ahead.
Peter North, 12 Acadia Shores. I don't support the amendment, actually. I would prefer that we make it a different amendment, and I would support that. I do think the town has, and many other towns have supported the library for some period of time. And I don't see the river personally as such an obstacle any more than any other town that supports the library. Frankly, I would support an amendment that reduces the increase in half, which would be more like a 5% increase rather than where we are today. So I do not support the amendment. Well done.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Carly Fuller. I am aware this is not a popular opinion, but I am here to advocate for the library and the continued purchase of library cards to make the library accessible to everybody in this town. I'm aware that, really according to your opinion, everybody can pay to go to the library. That's not the case. Not everybody can pay to do that, or that might not be in their budget. But the library provides a lot of services other than just reading. They provide access to internet. They provide free taxes for seniors. They provide passes for people to go to museums or coastal botanical gardens or things that they might not be able to otherwise afford, that they can just go ask for a pass and go to that event. It provides things like book groups, it provides knitting circles, it provides reading for children, reading to therapy dogs. It provides a lot of services that don't just benefit children, they benefit the seniors that live in our town, they benefit the adults that live in our town, they benefit our families. And it being across the river is not really the fault of the library, it is just where it is, and it is a part of our community, and it should be supported by us.
Hello, Abigail Estes. I'm actually coming up in support of the amendment that David raised to reduce but not eliminate fully, based on the fact that David raised that people can go to the town office, apply for a library card, or funds to pay for a library card, should they not afford that, to be able to go and use the services that Carly just spoke to. In the past, I've stood here at the town meeting in support of the funding for the patent-free library, but what I've come to understand is with the endowments and the way it's run, I think that the patent-free library could probably run a bit more fiscally responsible, more fundraising that doesn't necessarily impact taxpayers' purses. I am a family that we do have a library card, we got it for free. I could certainly pay for it if that would help. You know, in the future I can do that. I am able to. I know other people in the town cannot, but at the same time, we go in and we might have a late library book, and the endowments are covering late fees. Just wiping them clean. No one has to pay a late fee. I think there's better ways of using the endowment to cover the costs of the operation, so I'm in agreement with David's amendment. Hello, my name is Lindsay Mingo-Ellis. I am not in support of the amendment. I think I may be one of the few people in the room right now who are raising 2 small children in Woolwich, and access to a strong library was a really important deciding factor for us in choosing where to live. And so I would just urge us to think about what we're saying to young families by not investing in important community resources like the library, and what that means for how attractive Woolwich is for young families into the future.
Good evening, Tom Stoner. I feel very important that libraries are needed, and a strong library with good historical values needs to be maintained. However, I am in support of the amendment that David is suggesting. We may debate the dollar value. However, I think one question you should all ask in regards to the boiling frog theory, which I'm sure most of you know, how many have attended the commissioners meeting as far as a budget review? Anyone in the room?
Yes.
If you've attended the county commissioners meeting, you realize you don't have any control over their budget. How many have attended the RSU 1 budget review meeting? Anyone? And by that, you have an opportunity still remaining to oppose that budget increase, which is much more significant, as David has suggested. So our select board has really continued to do a great job in terms of holding the town budget in line, and that job's not going to get any easier. With respect to the library request, consider the following items. Lack of transparency. They have presented a paper tonight, but it didn't break anything down on the cost of the library, and I think there was something along the lines of 71% is administrative costs. They don't break that out, so you don't see what that is. A lack of input to the control of their budget. We have no control over their budget whatsoever as a town. For a heavily volunteer organization, how is the 71% of administrative costs dispersed among whoever's controlling the library? And the increasing endowment fund, that's not being used at all to bring the cost of towns down. It probably should be. So I am in support of a motion to reduce the amount to the library and give them an attention that we're concerned about our budgets.
Hi, my name is David Phillips. I believe that if we have the ability to save money in anything in our taxes, we should. Funding a library that my 3 sons haven't used, we have an internet capability. I really don't see a big use for the library for a day-to-day purpose. It shows by the numbers. We get 2/3 of us are paying for 1/3. That's the fat, skinny about the whole thing. So I'm not willing to want to pay for anybody else to use the library. You can go over and pay for it if you want to. But I feel as though there's enough information on the internet available now. We really don't need the library. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rob Stevens. I'm not sure I'm going to be allowed to go home after I speak tonight. I'm married to one of those people.
Can't hear you.
Can't hear you.
Oh, I'm sorry. It says, my name is Rob Stevens. And just so you know, I'm married to one of those people up there, and I sometimes go by the name Mr. Hepler. I find it interesting that David read off this list of all the things the government forces us to do. And it's sort of like, well, shouldn't we really be talking about all these things we're forced to pay for by the government? The other thing, and I hope this isn't really off topic, but the whole thing with grants isn't that meaning we're going to ask taxpayers from some outside of Woolwich to pay for what we want done with the grants? But as far as going with the schools, or excuse me, with the library, there's a library right there that almost nobody in this room can use. As far as I can do the math, there are 20 kids graduating every year who get a library card. Shouldn't we just give the kids who graduate a library card and close the school library down? What do we need it for? Kids aren't going to use libraries. We've been told kids aren't going to use libraries.
Victoria Tango. David, I didn't hear the amount that you said you wanted to amend it to.
8,500,
8,500.
which would buy 100 library cards.
Okay. Our taxes pay for many services that benefit our town. Not all of us will use all of these services, but they are necessary for the town as a whole, and they increase the value of our property. I'm going to leave you with a quote. The libraries of America are and must ever remain the home of free and inquiring minds. To them, our citizens of all ages and races, of all creeds and persuasions, must be able to turn with clear confidence that they can freely seek the whole truth, unvarnished by passion and uncompromised by expediency. End quote. Dwight D. Eisenhower. Our first library was set up by Ben Franklin in 1731. All of our founding fathers felt that libraries and public schools are what's needed to keep our democracy a democracy. It's not something to just get rid of because you don't want to pay it. The bottom line is per capita, the increase they're looking for is $2.81, I think, or 80 cents per capita from last year to this year. $2.80. You can't get a cup of coffee for that. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Andy Barber, and I got a bunch to address here, I think. First, David said that you can, his idea is that you should essentially, first let me say, this is not just a vote to amend the article, it's a vote to withdraw from the library. If you do not contribute the same amount as the other people in the other towns that are a part of the library, the Woolwich community will no longer be a part of that library. Whether they will or will not, at that point, allow Woolwich people to get individual library cards, I don't know. This leads to a second point, if you raised it, claiming that we have no influence over the decisions made by the library and board. We've got board members sitting right there. Am I right that you're still a board member, Allison, and you, Tommy? Yeah, 2 of our select board are on the library board. We have a lot of input, and if we withdraw, as David wants, then we won't. We may or may not be able to have some access to the library. And the idea that it's a private organization, technically, yes, when it was set up 200 years ago, yes, it was set up as a private organization, and it does have people who are selected to be part of the voting, etc. It does have, as I said, people specifically from the towns appointed onto that board, and it is a quasi-governmental organization of a group of associated towns. If you get rid of any significant part of those towns, you're doing your best to kill the library. And maybe that's what the town wants, is to kill the library. I'd be surprised. I think what we want is to freeload off the other people so that we only pay for a little bit of what it costs. Then I can understand that, but I can't endorse it. The issue of the endowment, this town keeps the couple of $1 million back so that we can pay and be able to control things over a period of years. Not very different from a substantial library having a fairly substantial endowment. It allows the library, which does take money from the endowment, the fact of the endowment allows this library to not charge the various towns nearly as much as it costs to run the library. The costs that are allocated out to the towns are, I don't remember the numbers, but maybe Allison and Tommy know, but it's like 30% or something of what the actual charges are. So we're getting a real bargain here. If you look at Topsom, seriously.
Please no outbursts, people, please.
Yeah. And I'm trying to be, I understand everybody's not happy. I don't know where they came up with the 10% increase, but I think they've done some variations in how the charges are allocated to the town, so it probably will even out over future years. That's at least something that I heard. The issue on the endowment, yes, that was part of the funding of it. But I was going to say, for a comparable example, Topsom has its own library. They pay roughly 4 times as much per individual for that library as any of the individuals covered by the patent-free library pay toward that. They pay 4 times as much as we in Woolwich pay. That's why I'm saying it's a bargain. It may not be a bargain you want. There's a lot of things that other people buy that I don't want it. I want a library. Let me see if I have anything else on my notes. I think that's all I had. Thank you for the time.
Andy, I'd like to respond just to a couple of things you said. At a meeting with the library earlier, I asked if somebody from Dresden came down and wanted a library card, what would it cost them? They said $85. So I think anybody can buy a library card.
And that is currently the policy, as I understand it. Right. Summer people can come and pay the costs, etc. Yeah.
The other thing is the town doesn't have $2 million in the bank. We would love to have $2 million in the bank, but we don't.
What do we call it? The thing we carry from year to year.
I'd like to say that what I'm trying to talk about tonight is the fairness issue. One third of the town has a library card. 2/3 of the town doesn't. And I just think it's hard for me to understand why somebody that's barely keeping their head above water, living on Social Security, should see their taxes go up for this, when I think most of the people that have a library card could afford to buy their own library card. I can see that the library is a wonderful organization, it does a lot of great stuff. As a matter of fact, if my amendment passes, I'm gonna buy a library card, okay? Because I want, we have a great granddaughter now, and I'd like to take it to some of the programs, so, but it's a fairness issue for me. Is it really fair for those of you that are so passionate about the library to only be passionate about the library if you can pass 2/3 of the cost on to your neighbors that don't use it? And that's where I'm coming from. I'm not in any way saying that the library isn't a wonderful organization, and they don't do a great job, and it isn't well run. I agree with all of that, but it is a fairness issue in my mind.
And if I can respond to what David
Quickly,
said.
please.
Sure. You may say you love it, but you want to kill it. That's the bottom line of what you're doing now. And if we remove Woolwich, I see it as a death spiral for the library. It'll eventually be a nothing little library just for Bath. Nobody from here would even want to go there, I bet. Also, the earlier speaker who talked about the factor of libraries and where people want to live, it's a big factor for a lot of people. We have been authorizing this despite considerable resistance for a number of years. A whole lot of us who live here took that library into account in buying our places here. I mean, for me over 20 years ago, but other people coming in, it's going to make a difference. You're going to gut the town, not just the library.
Thank you. Ma'am.
Hi there, my name is Carrie Emerson. I live on Acadia Shores off George Wright. A couple of things I'm concerned about. The notion of a public library is that it is open and available to everyone, and I feel like it's being painted as kind of elitist, us versus them situation. And I think when I'm thinking about people on fixed incomes in this community, I would rather, as part of this community, pay an additional $20 or $2 on my taxes to ensure that the elderly woman living on a fixed income can go to the library for free, instead of having to have just those people who think that they want to use it, use it. The point that was raised about the services that the library provides to communities, to people from all ages and all of the communities in the area, I think really can't be measured. And just because people are not availing themselves of it, I don't think is a justification for taking it away. And I guess one other thing I would say about access to the internet and all of the information we have, one of the vital roles of the library is to help teach people how to access that information and get reliable information. And when we take away these public institutions that are meant to serve all of us, I think it really hurts our community overall.
So I see the line's getting long, so I am going to limit comments to 3 minutes, just so we know. Thank you.
I may be able to help you in that regard. I think there's been a lot of information. I do not support the amendment. However, I think that there's been full and open debate. All positions and thoughts about it have been given, and I would like to propose we move the article. Second.
Okay, the amendment has been moved and seconded. To all those in favor of moving the question, the amendment, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Nay. Right, the motion passes. We're going to move the amendment. Okay, the way this is going to work, because I see there was a lot of people in line and it's a passionate subject. I am going to, unless there's objection, we are going to vote on this amendment by written ballot. All right, so take your purple ballot card. Anybody not colorblind or anything? Just make sure we got the right card. Sure, can I have your paper? Understood. Okay, this is what we're voting for with the purple card, just so everybody's clear. The amendment is to reduce the dollar amount in this article from $80,108 to $8,500. And the money will be set aside at the town office for the purpose of buying a library card for anyone that says it would be a burden to purchase their own card. The town would handle it the same way they do with heat assistance program. The only people that would know that you bought your card would be the people that you tell. Are we all clear on that? Any questions? Suzanne, hang on.
I'm sorry, I'm not quite clear, but I just want to get clear and make sure everybody else is with us. So we're not voting on Article 19, we're voting on Dave's amendment. Is that correct?
And yes, so a yes vote, the amendment passes. A no vote, the amendment fails. If the amendment passes, we are going to vote on Article 19 as amended, which is the $8,500 and what I just said. If it fails, we're going to go back to Article 19 with the $80,000 question.
Okay, so there's a chance to vote on it the original way it came instead of the altered way.
Only if this amendment fails. This amendment will
If
be...
this amendment fails, then you're going back to square one when you switch to
That is correct.
Article 19. Okay, I just wanted to make sure.
All right. Please vote. Well, yes.
Point of order, if this amendment passes, is there an opportunity to take a second amendment?
Yeah?
I would think so.
I don't know. No.
There are rules that says there's only one amendment allowed on any ballot question.
I think we're going to vote for, well, let's vote for this amendment and we'll go from there. We're not going to take another amendment. No, not yet. No. We're going to vote for this amendment first. Let's get through this. We'll take the next
We'll vote
step.
on this amendment, but can there be another amendment after this
Sure.
amendment? I got that.
Sorry. Your vote, you got to get a vote into the ballot box, folks. The amendment vote is yes, 112, no, 97. So, hang on. So now, the Article 19, which is on the floor, we now place Article 19 as amended on the floor for discussion. So if you want to have further discussion on Article 19 as amended, please raise your hand.
Could you just read the article as it is now?
Sure. Article 19 now will say, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $8,500, the money being set aside at the town office for the purpose of buying a library card for anyone that says it would be a burden to purchase their own car. We would handle it, the town would handle it the same way that we do the heat assistance program. The only people that would know that would buy your card would be people that you would tell. It's Article 19 as amended. Any discussion? Yes. Could you hang on 1 second, please?
I agree with it, but are you saying give 0 to the library and the 8,000 to the town?
That's the way I would read it. The 8,500 would remain in the town for library cards, and the library would not get the sum of 80,108. Yes. Any other discussion? Yes. Hang on, we'll get a mic to you. Or, yeah, thank you.
How well used is the heating assistance fund?
Excuse me, I didn't.
Related.
So first of all, the heating assistance fund is funded privately without any town money at all. It's all through private donations. And it is well used, like this past winter when it was very cold. Don't have any specific figures, but
No figures?
I don't, Kim might have
You
more.
wanted the figures or?
The heating assistance fund, how well used is it?
It's very well utilized.
Meaning what?
So if somebody, before we
Give her a mic.
amended it, Before we amended it, they used to have to qualify or apply for general assistance that's state mandated. And if they did not qualify for GA, then they could automatically be approved for the town heating assistance. The town board changed that a little bit, so now it's not a requirement to be denied from general assistance. It's on an as-needed basis. So if somebody comes in and they can't afford to fill their tank, then we don't base it off of their income, we base it off of their need.
How do you know, how do you determine the need?
How do I determine the need? They come in and they talk to me about it. I meet with them and we go over their finances. And if they have small children in the house, it's an automatic need. I don't question if there's children in the house or there's elderly in the house. We have the donations and we will fund them and get them heat.
And is it totally used?
Can we, we gotta keep to the amendment, ma'am, please. I mean, we gotta keep to the article.
But we're comparing that this process for the library is going to be modeled
Understood.
on that process. And so I'm wondering, and I guess I'm a little bit concerned about people and how do they prove that they need it or it's a hardship or that kind of thing. And it does feel a little bit of a judgment is involved that I'm not sure people to go to get information should have to do this.
I don't think that it's going to be on a, you need to show us that you cannot afford your library card. If somebody comes in and says, I can't afford it, will the town fund it? I don't think we're going to look at their income and say, I'm sorry, but you're more than qualified. But if somebody feels the need that they can't afford a library card, then the town will fund it for them.
So any of the people that currently have a card could come forward and ask?
If they feel that they need it, then absolutely.
Thank you.
Mr. Moderator, point of order.
Yes, sir.
I move the question, Article 19, as amended.
I second it.
I'm gonna allow a little more discussion first.
I just want to state that 209 people were car holders in 2025. So 209 car holders.
No.
Okay, that's, we're not gonna have, address me and there'll be no,
So there's only.
just come up and speak. Go ahead, sir,
I
sorry.
don't think it's fair for 900 people to pay for the other 2,000 people to go to the library if they want to go. And they're not even going. They just want the right to go. It shows they're not going. They want us to fund them in case they want to go. Well, I don't think it's fair. I think it's a good way to cut tax dollars in this town. And $8,500 is more than sufficient to cover anybody that wants to go to the Patton Free Library and get a card. Thank you.
Sir.
David Ingmanson, Monsweet Road. I'm going to be voting against this as amended. Mr. King, I'd just like to point out that your two principal reasons, as I understand them, were senior citizens' needs and availability to pay. And Mr. Phillips' point, right, Mr. Phillips?
Yeah.
That not everyone uses it. I'm afraid that those two arguments can be made against just about everything we have on the warrant. And I hear you making it for this one. Now, I'd like to follow that up by saying, I don't use all the services in this town. I hope I don't use the EMS. Any votes for spending at the cemetery, I'm definitely not using them now. And Jason can speak to the status of our part of Monsweet Road. The town is definitely not overspending so far on my section of the road. But I use the library, and I make one more point, sir. A phrase that's pretty common around this part of Woolwich or this part of the state is, I have to go to the town. I have to go to the town means I'm in trouble and I might need some extra rent money, stuff like that. Going to the town is never a positive thing, and it's hurt and embarrassed a lot of people through the years. I don't want to add to the embarrassment of going to the town. I don't want to put that on the clerk or anyone else. So I'm going to vote against this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi there. My name is Lori Martin. I'm a citizen of Woolwich as well as a board member of PFL. And I just want to bring up the fact that I have some serious concerns on how this amendment was addressed. It seemed a little unprecedented and perhaps a little premeditated. And I just would like comment on that. It just, I'm not sure it's a conflict of interest, but it seemed like it was popped right out there and nobody else knew. All of a sudden, that was what we were voting on. I would suggest maybe having a special meeting to discuss this, as it doesn't seem like it's going to be solved.
Hey there, Jen Billings. I live on Murphy's Corner Road. I just have a question about the decision. Because I actually have a library card and I'm happy to pay for my own membership because I want to continue to be a member. But when would this take place? So like if I go in with my card, are they going to be like, hey, Woolwich didn't pay, you have to pay for it? Like when do our membership as town members end?
I would think it'd be July 1st. Our fiscal year ends June 30th, and we've paid up until June 30th.
I just wanted that information so that I know, because I actually have folks out. And again, I'm just saying, I love the library. I'm lucky enough to be able to go to Curtis Memorial as a member of an agency that works there, and I love libraries. And I just wanted that information so that everyone who does and wants to continue is aware. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Jay Hills, Stagecoach Road. I don't have a huge dog in this fight, but I just want to say, like, this debate has sort of sucked to hear as a community member. I do want to say, Mr. King, I was sort of surprised that you kicking this thing off with your opinion. I want to hear your opinion, but not necessarily in the order in which it came. And I think it would have been nice to have had other perspectives or facts from library officials or somebody to frame the debate so that we can make a decision about facts, not about an opinion. I'd also say we are not mandated by state law to have a full EMS and fire department. We kind of chief, it's recommended. And so if we're going to start saying, well, I don't use this, I'm a healthy guy, I haven't called EMS, so we don't have to. But
we can easily start having a conversation about pay for service for things that are not necessarily fully mandated by state law. Partially, yes. So I would just caution the framing of this debate. The framing. I'm not cautioning the value.
Keep
My wife is a volunteer firefighter.
Sir, let's keep it up to here, and no chatter in the back, please.
And lastly, I think we also are missing the boat on this idea that we're sending all this money to Bath. My paycheck comes from Bath. Money comes back across in many different ways. If we are only looking at the way in which our money as a town goes to Bath, or our water from the closet goes to Bath, that's fine. But let's not ignore the fact that Bath is a service center for many of us, and many of us collect paychecks from businesses in Bath, including BIW. So I would just say, let's round out the conversation and the debate, and not necessarily look so narrow-minded on one or two things.
Mr. Moderator, if I could just for a second, quick. My reading of Robert's Rules of Order is that this article has been amended. So if you vote against the article as amended, then the library gets nothing.
Okay, all right. All right, hang on. Did you have any further comments, sir?
Well, I just want to acknowledge for the record that we did dismiss about 5 or 6 commenters in the previous. So I appreciate now having the ability to do that, but from a process, that seems to be important to acknowledge.
Mr. Bell?
Last year, there was 13.3% of the Woolwich population that lived at or below the poverty line. So I support your amendment, David, and I'm grateful for it for those people who cannot afford to pay higher taxes.
My name is Janine Lippert. I've been on the board of the Patent Free Library. My objection to the amendment is the arbitrary 100 cards that would be funded. In the past, people have proposed the idea that a certain amount of money be put aside, and if people wanted to come and pay for a card and needed to be reimbursed, or just wanted the Woolwich town to pay for their card, that was fine. But will 100 cards cover the needs of anybody who might not feel they can afford it? To be a little, those of us who feel we could afford it could come in according to, and just say, I'm sorry, I don't think I could afford this. And we'd hit the ceiling. I object to the arbitrary 100 cards being covered. I think it should be a more variable number. Thank you.
Hi, Rue Brown, Mill Road. Rue Brown, Mill Road. I just wanted to say that I think that the way that this amendment went about didn't give everyone enough information. I think that for people to truly be able to make a good decision about this, we would need to know, do our services change if we have to pay for our own library cards? Do we still have the same amount of access? Are there any restrictions on it? I mean, it just seems like there was a lot of information that just got, brushed away because of your opinion, Mr. Hill. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Julia Dunleavy. I live at 35 Fisher Pond Road. We just moved here in June, and it would be a real bummer not to have access to a library. I've never lived in a place that doesn't have access to a free library. It's called a free library for a reason, and I just don't want to live in a place that doesn't have access to a library.
Jack Martin, George Wright Road. I would just like to say that I think how everyone feels about the funding of the library, we should all be able to agree that the way that the amendment was introduced is questionable at best, and that the issue should be moved to a special meeting where everyone will have more opportunity to discuss it in depth and hear counter arguments and data to support both sides, and not have this sort of schweistered in a way that I think is very unbecoming of the select board.
Yeah.
I need to assume that the town of Woolwich can amend any article in this warrant tonight at any time. Their amendment may not pass, but it's part of town meeting.
Okay,
It's amended at any
Yeah,
time.
let's hang on. Mr. Hope?
Yes, Ted Hope, Murphy's Corner. If we vote no on Article 19 as amended, will you still entertain other motions having to do with the library, or do we move on to number 20?
No, I think if the article as amended, I'm sorry, did you say it does not pass?
That's right.
I think we will go back to Article 19, I think back to the original, unless there's an amendment. Well, I think it would, let me rephrase. I think it stops there. If Article 19 as amended, and we vote no, if the town votes no, then we move on.
Why couldn't somebody,
Sorry.
if we vote no, why couldn't somebody move an article appropriating or authorizing less money than what's in the current article?
Anybody can make another amendment like that.
Having to do with patent-free?
That's correct.
If we vote no?
No, you can do it right as we're talking now.
I'm not prepared for it. But I think what I'm hearing a lot of people would like is another number that we all support, or that we contribute to, or that we have this resolved in another meeting where there's more presentation of that.
Thank you.
Terry Cumble, Phipps Martin Road. I think what we just all voted on zeroes out any money to the library. The $8,500 goes, that's in the, as the amendment reads, will go to the town of Woolwich, not, so the library gets zero with what we just all voted on.
That's right.
Correct.
Hi. Allison Hepler, I live on Montsuite Road, and if we can, I'm just going to do this, and if I get a second, I'll talk more about it. I want to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $80,108 to support the operating costs of the patent-free library and authorize the select board to spend any amount up to that.
Okay, so we have another amendment, and the amendment basically is Article 19 as it was originally stated. Okay, so.
Can I not do that?
It's amended and passed, correct?
Okay.
Amended and
All right.
passed.
Okay, I got a new one. Can I change that to $80,107?
We have to vote on the amendment, on the article as amended first, and then if you want, the way I would see it, we have a motion on the floor that has been presented and has been voted for. Actually, the article's already been voted for, to reduce the number to 8,500.
Point of inquiry. If we're going to go Robert's rules on this, guys, if we don't know how you're assessing how to vote, we have to stop the meeting. You're guessing at how to amend an amendment that hasn't been amended until we vote on an amendment. If you don't know where we're going, it's time to stop for a second and own our democracy. So where are we at? We can't keep guessing at what we're going to vote for. Go back to the book. It's written. No, but up there it's not. Up there, there's a question about what we're doing. You have to guide this direction.
Okay, give me a second. it can be amended again, and then we'll go through that process. So we have an amendment that's brought to Article 19 to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $80,180 to support the operating costs of the patent-free library and to authorize the select board to spend any amount up to $80,108. That's the amendment. So, and we have a second. So now we're going to now we have discussion on that amendment. Go ahead, Alex.
I just wanted, a lot of people have said what I've already said. Mr. Ingmanson said that he hopes he doesn't need to use the EMS, but it's there if we want it. I guess I feel like the library is the same as the school. I don't have kids in the school, I never did, but I think we benefit from, as a democracy, from having the schools, right? And the same, for me, goes for the library. Put that in the same bucket, I guess, as the, as the schools. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, Barry Holland from 59 Evertown Drive. I'd just like to say, public libraries are almost a unique American institution. They were started here initially by Ben Franklin when he donated books to a town named by Franklin of Massachusetts. And since that time, over 7,000 libraries have been built in this country, supported by individual towns. And with this, if we're not going to support...
Keep the chatter down a little bit, just whisper, please.
If we're not going to support the ad-free library with some number, I don't know if 80,000 is the right number, that's what's currently up. If we're not going to support it like 7 other libraries are supported around this country, I think it's a real shame and a real downer for this town not to support it properly, like a true American tradition. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dave Phillips. I believe that comparing funding of library to comparing our EMS services is ridiculous. A library is a non-essential. EMS is essential. If we're going to save tax dollars in this state, in this country, all the way around in this town, we need to start cutting somewhere. How about non-essential libraries? Imagine that. So me, the working guy, who has to go out tomorrow morning at 6:30 and work my ass off in the cold, hanging off everything, can actually pay for something without being a library that I don't use. I think it's very unjust of you to vote a library and me to pay, which I don't think I should. And these are a lot of my other guys that have to go to work tomorrow to pay for. So think about that as you sit here and do your vote. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Susan Woodward, also Rich Road.
Good. Just a little bit louder, thank you. Right up to the mic.
Susan Woodward, Woodbridge Road. As I've listened tonight, I've heard several rationales for voting against this, the original amendment. I mean, one is that, the $2.60 per resident would impinge upon your retirement or be a big challenge for your family budgets. Another is that we're paying for something that you don't use. As has been pointed out a number of times, there are a lot of things that we are asked to pay for that we don't use. I also do not have children. My father has lived in this town for 70 years. He hasn't had a child in the schools in a long time.
School's essential.
But I don't.
Okay, please.
I don't question the value of funding public education. I don't question the value of having a fire department. Never had a fire yet. But it's, you could say public education is an essential, but the value of it that we all understand is what a greater good that it is to our society. And I would say the libraries are, that's not an original argument for me to be making. They contribute to the greater good, to the strength of our society. through their access to information and ideas. And my father also worked as a working man, and he uses that library. I can't tell you, there's so many services that he takes advantage of and that I use. And you know, we can go ahead and pay for a membership. I don't need to come to the town to get one. But I want to support the value. And I think our libraries and other institutions have been under attack. And I think this is, you know, very unfortunate. And I do believe when people say that they hear the $80,000 and they think that's $80,000 coming out of your pocket.
It is. Okay, all right, ma'am.
It's a couple.
All right.
It's a couple of most of the dollars we're talking about are a couple of dollars coming out of your pockets. Thank you.
Thank you. Wait a minute, I'll have a couple more.
Mine's going to be really short. Is it not a conflict of interest for Allison to do an amendment when we've already voted on it? She's part of the board at the library. Is that not a conflict of interest? Asking for a friend. She is a resident, I get it. She is on the board.
Should be impartial. No voting amendments.
It's huge. And we already voted on it. So for her to make another amendment with a conflict of interest because she's on the board, she is a selectman, it's a huge issue. No, I'm all about it. Because there isn't a conflict. How do you figure that's a conflict of interest?
All right.
Gotcha, buddy.
Majority count, regardless of brought up the amendment. Again, I said for a vote.
Okay. Anything else?
Board members can bring up amendments if they're seconded by the majority. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mike Fear, 383 Old Stage Road. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to the whole town for weighing in. We've had more discussion on this, and I think it's great that everybody's involved. I personally think we should be funding the library. The library is a part of our community. And I hate the idea that we are trying to divorce ourselves from our community. I think our community includes Georgetown, Rhinebeck, West Bath, Pittsburgh, and Bath. And I think it is part of the community, and we are asking we contribute. Now, what we do contribute to the funds, I know it's a big figure, but it's only 6% of what the library actually needs to run. A great proportion of the money that is raised by the library is done by volunteers, fundraisers, people who are donating. I happen to be one of the managers of the Patrick Library bookstore, the Trends of the Patrick Library bookstore. And we have, fortunately, a ton of people from this area, from Woolwich as well as from Bath and from around the area. And we are there working. I'm retired now, I don't have to work. So I can go and give my time and my work as hard as I can to raise money that doesn't have to come from municipalities. And there's a lot of other sources of funds that come there. What Patrick Library is asking for is something to keep this resource so that it keeps our property values up, because again, so many people have said they moved here because we have a library. And it's very important. And so I ask that we do support that library as best we can. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Rob Stevens on Montesquieu Road. I don't think it's really fair to assume that, let's say, elderly people who have worked hard all their life and are living on a very tight budget don't support the library and the school. I think a lot of people have worked very hard and are very tight budget, Mayfield School and the library are what makes America great. And so I don't think you could really, without going around and knocking on doors and find out, okay, how many people on a tight budget don't want to support the library?
My name's Jeff McCarron. I'll make this short and sweet. I want to make an amendment to the amendment to the amendment. Now, that sounds kind of silly, don't it? We're going to be here all night if we keep doing this. Can we just move the question, please?
All right, I have a motion to move the question. Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor of moving the amendment, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. No. Okay. Our amendment's been moved. So now we will, unless there's objection, we will vote by written ballot for the amendment. And the amendment is as follows. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $80,108 to support the operating costs of the patent-free library and authorize the select board to spend any amount up to $80,108. Please use the yellow ballots. Yellow ballots. Yes? We are voting?
Point of order.
Yeah, listen up.
Point of order here. According to Robert's Rule of Order, you cannot have two amendments to a motion at the same time. We've got an amendment for $8,500. I don't think we can vote on Allison's amendment at the same time that we have another amendment already on the floor. It says right here, you cannot have three primary or two secondary amendments on a motion at the same time. They're breaking Robert's Rule of Order.
The majority of the people voted to change it to 8,500. The majority of the people voted. You know, a majority means many people, more people than the other people who didn't want it. So that means it's amended. Done.
So wait a minute, let's be clear. So we voted on an amendment and the amendment passed. So that brought it back to the article as amended. So that opens it back up to more amendments or a vote. So just follow us for a minute. We did our research. So David, I don't mean to disrespect you, but your amendment passed. Then we're talking about the amended article. But that opens it back up to more amendments.
Keep going. So go back if the amendment's made.
If it passes, I'll ask for an amendment to bring back 8,500.
All right, so listen, we're going to vote on the new amendment authorizing the $80,108 with your yellow ballot. Yes means you support the amendment to raise $80,108 for the patent-free library.
No, that's not what we just did that.
No.
Quick question, right? We voted for the amendment, then it needs to go back up to pass that amendment as it was amended. We approved the amendment, then the article's there amended, we have to pass that article one way or the other. I'm sorry, I have a 9-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old at home. The majority voted here. Can we please somehow speed this up, whether we need to go and decline this next amendment and go back to vote on the other amendment so we can wrap this up? Because I totally understand that there are so many feelings involved with, we need to support patent-free library, we don't. It sounds like we all have to do a lot of soul searching. The patent-free library needs to be more transparent with their administrative costs to convince our community and a majority next year to fund it again. We're not saying we're closing the doors on patent-free libraries, but I'm just saying it's getting heated for everyone. Everyone's tired. Let's move it on. We have a full meeting. Like, we're only halfway through, maybe. Not even. Can we all just agree that let's do this as a democracy, just get it done, no objections, just vote, and then we can get back to it. You voted to amend the article, but you didn't put it in. We have to keep going as of new.
Hang on a minute.
And I still need to work before I have a meeting at 8:30. Then I'm like, if I say yes, we'll send me in it. I feel like they need to have a separate.
No, so the way I'm reading my rules is if we had not voted for Article 19 as amended, we only voted for the first amendment.
Can we vote for it?
That passed. Then during discussion, another amendment came up for the Article 19 to go back to the $80,108. And that was seconded, and we had discussion on that. So we will now vote for the second amendment, which says it raise $80,000, $108 to support the patent-free library with your yellow ballots.
I think we should do another amendment that puts it back to 8,500 again.
Anybody second the amendment?
Question though, if we decline this next amendment, does it revert back to the original that passed?
Right.
Okay, so if you don't want it, vote no to this amendment, and then we can go back to the original, and we can be done with it, okay?
We need to vote to remove Allison from the board if she's going to vote that direction.
Mr. Phillips, that's enough. I'm going to ask you to leave the meeting, okay?
I will.
Thank you, sir. All right. All right. Moving on. Article 20. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $63,600 for the office operations account. The approximate breakdown of the account is as follows. 2026 town reports $3,300.
Mr. Moderator,
Yes, Mr. Longley.
I'd like to make a motion in the expedience of time to not read each line item.
Second motion.
All those in favor of suspending the reading of Article 20 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Motion passes. Move. Article on the floor.
I move the article be accepted.
I second the motion.
Article 20 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 20 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 20 passes. Article 21, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $45,900 for the municipal building operations account. The approximate breakdown of the account is as follows. 2026.
Mr. Moderator,
Mr. Longley.
I'd like to make a motion to dispense with the reading of the balance of each line item.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to suspend the reading of Article 21. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 21 passes.
Move the article be accepted.
I'm going to bundle Article 22 through 28. Article 22, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $14,200 for the town's insurance. This includes all municipal building contents and tax acquired properties. Vehicle insurance is now listed. What? Oh, sorry. I thought we did. No?
No, we didn't.
I apologize. All right. Any discussion for Article 20? Seeing none. Wait a minute. Where is it? Where is it? Okay. I think I missed Article 21. I got it right here. All right. So we haven't done that one yet at all. Okay. All right. Any discussion for Article 21? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 21 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 21 passes. I'm going to bundle Article 22 through 28. Article 22, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $14,200 for the town's insurance. This includes all municipal buildings, contents, and tax-acquired properties. Vehicle insurance is now listed under the appropriate departments. Article 23, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate up to $30,000 as payment for an assessing agent for the purpose of assessing and maintaining the equity of the property assessments. Article 24, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500 to update the property tax maps. Article 25, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $3,000 for the computer replacement account. Article 26, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $5,464 for the payment membership dues for the Maine Municipal Association. Article 27, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $14,000 to pay the auditor. And Article 28, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500 for the town's litigation account.
Move the articles be accepted as read. Second the motion.
Articles 22 through 28 have been seconded and motion been made and seconded to place on articles on the floor. Yes, sir.
Is the membership in the Maine Municipal Association required by law? Is the membership in the Maine Municipal Association required by law?
It is not, but we get back 3 times the services that they charge us for. They give us free light, they give us free legal advice, and they help us out with all kinds of rules and regulations.
Yeah, I understand all of that.
And everybody
beforehand.
Every citizen of the town benefits from it.
Yeah, that's arguable. But what I would like to propose is an amendment to Article which one was that? 26, reducing the amount from $5,464 to $5,400. I'm sorry, 5,000. Saying this wrong. $546.40, and see what you can buy for it. I heard a second.
Can you just give me that amount one more time, sir?
Yeah, it's 10% roughly what Dave did at the library.
Okay. All right. So we have an amendment on the floor, and it's been seconded. Any discussion on Article 26's amendment?
Yes, this is turning into a congressional filibuster, and I object. That's a legal municipality thing. You guys, we're all citizens of Woolwich, community members. We need to treat each other with respect. We may have differing opinions on the Patent Free Library, but the pettiness of these amendments to drag this out is too much. Like, let's not do this. We're better than this in the town of Woolwich. We voted on the Patent Free Library. We're going to continue to vote on that. But let's not be petty with the additional articles and stall this meeting for the sake of the pettiness. It's just too much.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, are all those in favor of the amendment for Article 26 for the amount of $546.40? Signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Nay. Amendment fails. So Article 26 remains to see if the town will raise $5,464. Yes, sir, Mr. Longley.
Move the question.
Second.
All those in favor of moving to questions, Articles 22 through 28, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. All those in favor
favor of Article 22 through 28 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Articles 22 through 28 pass. Okay. We're at Article 29. Thank you. All right, we have the vote on the amendment for Article 19 to go back to the $80,108 is yes, 93, no, 117. So amendment fails.
Now does that go to the $8,500 original amendment?
So we are. Okay, so back to Article 19 as amended. Do you have any further discussion? Okay. All right. We don't have any more balance, do we? We'll try voice. We're gonna. Yes.
Is there any way to possibly move this to a separate vote? No. I would ask people to show respect and
Yeah.
if they can't show respect.
I understand.
But is there any way to move, this was sprung on us pretty quickly, and is there any way to take this to a separate meeting, a special meeting, that where the information can actually be out and it's not just emotions and we can move on?
I don't think so. Okay. All right, go. Yes.
I can still object to the way that it was brought up.
My question is, how are we getting information out to people that they no longer will have a card, and to the other people who can't pay for it? How is that going to be communicated so that everyone can take advantage of this opportunity to get a free card if they need it?
The press is here tonight, I'm sure this is going to be in the paper. It's also going to be, the meeting is being filmed, it's going to be on Channel 3. I think people will know. And I think most people that support the library will let everybody know about it as well.
Yes.
So listen, folks, yeah, this is very passionate and hot topic. So once we vote, we move on. But remember, this doesn't really take effect till July 1. There are other mechanisms. This has nothing to do with my personal feelings. Somebody can get a petition. You can get, Kim, correct me if I'm wrong, 10% of the last gubernatorial vote. You can require a special town meeting. I mean, that's how these things work. Do we remember pay as you throw? Does anybody remember that? And that kind of went back and forth, and we took some hot tomatoes over that too. But anyway, that's what I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sir.
Dean Stanton, Hockenlock Road. Everybody's pretty passionate about it. I don't think anybody here actually wants to see the library fail.
Speak up just a tad to the thing.
Everybody here is pretty passionate about the library, and I don't think anybody here wants to see them fail in any way, shape, or form. Could we, in any way, shape, or form, put a donation box for those who have excess money to put into that donation box at the town hall, and then not put the burden on the taxpayer? I know you don't think it's a lot on the taxpayer, but it still is money that is coming out of our taxes. So I would be more than happy to put my money where my mouth is by actually donating to the patent-free library if we have a donation box in town hall. So whenever you come in to do any business with the town, drop in what you feel like. If there's any opposition to that, please let me know.
We passed an article earlier tonight that allows the select board to take donations and to use them for whatever purpose that they are donated for.
Yeah, okay. So we're now going to, we're going to vote. I'm going to try voice. Oh, okay. Oh, Mr. Shaw. Can't say no.
Hi, I'm Jack Shaw. Most of you know me, some of you do, some of you don't. I haven't heard anyone here tonight say they don't want the library. What I have concluded, we don't like the way it's funded. We don't like to be demanded what we're supposed to pay. That said, I was asked by the board, one of my sons, to keep my hot tub budget flat. We are going backwards with our paved roads. We used to pave at,
Microphone.
we used to be able to pave a mile for $20,000. Today, we can't pave a mile for $100,000. So the best we get out of it is about 2 miles a year. And we are slowly going backwards on our roads. We gotta remember something. Your kids, the ambulance, the fire trucks, they all go on our roads. We're gonna get to a point where we're gonna have a heck of a big problem. I work very hard, most of them guys up there know it, to search out good pricing and get all I can get out of my money. But we are going backwards. When I see this happen like this, I kind of feel like that we got our priorities in the wrong place. We are not against the library. Okay, not a person here is against the library. We are against the way we fund it. I'll give somebody $85 or whatever it takes and be glad to. But I don't think that's a problem. I think it goes further than that. So I just would like to remind you, be very careful. We're getting in trouble with our spending.
There's a motion been made to move the question. Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor of moving the question signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Question's been moved. Okay, so now we are going to vote. We don't have that. No, that's right. Okay. I'm going to try a voice vote. Article 19, we're going to vote for Article 19 as amended. Do I need to clarify anything with that?
Yes, just speak it out.
Thank you. Article 19, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $8,500, the money to be set aside at the town office for the purpose of buying a library card for anyone that says it would be a burden to purchase their own card. The town would handle it the same way that we do the heat assistance program. The only people that would know would be that we would buy your card would be the people that you tell. So, all those in favor of Article 19 as amended, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Nay. Yeah. All right, we're going to try hands because I just want to know. This is very. I want to make it very clear. All right, all those in. Are we ready? I'll give you that. Okay. All those in favor of Article 19 as amended, please raise your hand. Keep your hands up.
$92. Did you get the ones behind you? Did you get? Oh, nope, sorry. 95. Thank you.
All those opposed of Article 19 as amended, please raise your hand. Article 19 as amended passes. Article 29, to see if the town will vote to authorize the select board to take out the $10,000 from the undesignated fund balance for the senior property relief ordinance. Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion, Article 29? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 29 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 29 passes. Article 30, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $17,500 for the continued sampling of groundwater from the installed surface water test sites at the landfill.
Move the article be accepted as read. Second motion.
Article is moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 30 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 30 passes. I'm going to bundle Article 31, A through C. Article 31, A, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $266,142.69 for the complete weekly curbside refuse collection and disposal, bi-weekly curbside recycling collection and disposal, and authorize the select board to enter into an agreement with Riverside Disposal and Maine for their services. The breakout of total costs are as follows. Weekly curbside collection trash, $104,423.63. Bi-weekly curbside collection recycling, $35,501.06. Disposal tipping fee, based on estimated 1,300 tons, $119,678. Tipping fee for recyclables, estimated at 233 tons, $6,540 for the total of $266,142.69. B, to see if the town will appropriate a sum not to exceed $25,000 from the undesignated fund balance account for the select board to use if necessary for the unanticipated solid waste recycling cost. And C, to see if the town will raise and appropriate the sum of $2,500 for the household waste collection event.
Move the article be accepted as read. Second the motion.
Article's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Yes. Hang on, the mic's coming.
For the sake of those of us who could not be among the 20 houses that were able to use this service this year, is there any way that we could increase the town's involvement? Some of us called like the day after the announcement came out, and we still couldn't get on the list.
Thank you for
That's the
asking.
hazardous waste.
I recognize Allison. Yep.
Thank you for asking that question. It's a question that has come up with us in the last couple of years as it fills up. I also knew about it, but I didn't get signed up either. And I think that's something that, I think I speak for the board, thinking that that is an amount that we could set aside more for next year. If it doesn't get spent, it just goes back into the undesignated fund balance. It's a good question.
Any other discussion? Seeing none. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I'm sorry, yes.
I'm sorry I did not introduce myself earlier tonight. My name is Tracy and I live on the Hockomock Road. It's been brought to my attention that people from Bath are bringing their garbage over to Woolwich so they can get out of paying their bag fee. Yeah, this is true, this is happening. So why do you think our garbage is going up in price? What can we do about this? Yeah, but we can't be sitting somewhere at 3, 4, 5 a.m. The cops can't be everywhere at once. I mean, I would like to eventually maybe go to a town meeting and put a motion in for next year. Or a sticker. Put a sticker on your bag.
To answer your question, I think there is a certain amount of rubbish that is brought into town from other towns. And whenever we find that happening, and we can prove that it's happening, we speak to the landowner and tell them that's not acceptable.
Okay, so it is also my understanding that it's relatives, someone you know, someone from Bath knows someone in Woolwich, and they bring their garbage over.
Okay. I know it's not related to the article. I think that's something that would be handled off-site or with the refuse company, maybe?
Yeah, it's a budget thing though. It's going up in price because of this.
Recognize Allison.
Thank you for that comment, Tracy. One of the things I think we should do is task the solid waste committee with coming up with a plan for next year. I think it's not a bad idea. Thank you.
I'll be on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I got one lady in the back and then you, sir.
Susan Woodward. I'm sorry if this was already mentioned. How many slots does the 2,500 pay for?
20.
How much?
20.
20. Okay, the same that it did this past year. Last year I was lucky enough to hit it just right, and I was one of the people who got one of those slots. This year, not so lucky. And considering that it's only 20 slots and many more households, I was wondering if, I think that perhaps there should be, if you got 20, you got one of the 20 slots this year, maybe you don't get it next year. Or, and as someone who had received it last year, you know, I'd be willing to, you know, to share and, you know, let someone who didn't get a chance at it to get to take advantage of it. At the same time, there is in Lewiston, I think it must be a state-run facility that accepts hazardous waste. It will be one day each month of this summer, starting May 16th. And you can bring your hazardous waste, 2 units, I'm not sure what that means, for free.
Thank you. Sir?
Jonathan Appleyard, Munswick Road, chair of the Solid Waste and Recycling Committee, which is now down to moi, myself. So when David said we're open to volunteers, I'm one of those people open to volunteers. We've wrestled with this issue over the last decade that I've been on the committee, and we have no, that involved a group over those years, we have no recommendation for how to solve this problem. So to throw it to this committee would be to put it on me, and I could answer by saying, I don't know what to do with that. If people want to break the law, they can break the law. The best way we have to influence it is to talk to each other, talk to those neighbors who we think are abusing it, notify one another, and that's a class action suit that we can bring. But there's no law enforcement that can enforce it. We did have one committee member who decided to begin to, he self-deputized himself, drove around town, and he almost got shot.
Any other discussion? Yes. Hang on, just get the mic, please, right behind you. Thanks.
I'm wondering what the breakdown is for the total amount spent per household.
Yes.
All right, so a couple of things. Kim and I get together, we're the folks that, yeah, household hazardous waste or trash?
Trash.
Trash. Well, we have monthly breakdowns because we get monthly billings and it changes regularly depending on time of year and usage and that sort of thing. The increase that's here is really not that large. You remember the town grows every year, so we take on more and more houses. It's an estimate. We've never gone over budget. We come in under budget. To answer this question about outside town trash, we have a newsletter that we send out. We send out notices and tax bills. I think that what we're going to have to do is get fairly strict with folks, remind them that if they know of or participate in anything like that, that they're breaking the law. We went down the road of pay as you throw. We don't want to talk about that. I don't know if I answered your question, but we don't have the exact figures in front of us. But
No, I was wondering how much is the breakdown per household? How much are we paying per household for this trash service?
Well, it doesn't necessarily work that way. It's by the ton. So they pick up trash. We have a contract with Maine directly for disposal. We have a contract with the trucking company, Riverside, the hauler, directly. We have a very lean setup, so nobody's, it's direct setup. And Kim gets a bill monthly for trash, recycling. When you say household, I mean, I guess we could find that out, but it's not a,
So you've never done the math to see if we're getting a deal or not? Like,
A
the
deal.
244,000 divided by how many households would work out to how much?
About 1,600 households.
Yeah, 1,600 households divided by that. When you say a deal,
166 bucks.
At 1,600 households in Woolwich, so the average would be $166 per household.
Per month?
No.
Per year.
Per year. $166 per household per year, average, okay.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 31, A through C, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 31, A through C passes. Article 32, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $0 for the maintenance upkeep of the Nequasset Park outhouse. Note, the Nequasset Park Committee budget request is now included in this article. Last year was $3,500.
And no cost to the taxpayers.
I'm going to move the question first.
Except this,
Okay, sorry. Article 32 has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 32 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 32 passes. Article 33, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate such sums of money as may be necessary for the following accounts. Mr. Longley.
Move that dispense with the balance of the reading of each line item.
Do I have a second? Second. All those in favor of suspending a reading of Article 33 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes.
move the article be accepted.
Second motion.
Article has been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Excuse me, on page 115 of the town report, it lists the total cost of the contracts over the past 6 years. And for 25-26, it's this is snowplow, excuse me, $2,582,000. How does that compare with the figure that's in Article 33?
okay. All right, Ted, so first of all, that's the total of all of those columns. That does not reflect the current contracts. If the town remembers last year, it changed, went out to bid. There are multiple contractors. They're actually not in this book right now. So what we're voting on reflects the current contracts with their contractual increases and whatnot. Does that make sense?
It does, but why such a big difference between what it says we either appropriated or spent of $2.5 million for 25-26, and then
Yeah, Ted, those are the totals. It's technically not $2.5 million. That figure represents everything to the left added up to that. And so, but this is actually a little behind the eight ball because we're entering into the second. You're voting on the second year of new 3-year contracts. So we just missed that. We missed getting that in the town. Okay.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 33 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 33 passes. When a bundle, Article 34A and B. Article 34A, to see if the town will authorize the select board to remove up to $70,000 if available from the Local Road Assistance Program, LRAP account for hot topic town roads. And B, to see if the town will authorize the select board to spend any additional LRAP funds for whatever highway purpose the select board and the road commissioner deem appropriate.
Move the article be accepted. Second motion.
Article has been moved and motion's been made and moved to place article on the floor. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 34A and B signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 34AB passes. Article 35, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $40,000 for the repair and maintenance on unpaved town maintained roads. Last year's appropriation was the same.
Move the article be accepted.
Second motion.
Article's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 35 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 35 passes. Article 36, to raise and appropriate $80,000 for the second year payment for the salt and sand building and property.
Move the article be accepted and read.
Second motion.
Article's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 36 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 36 passes. Article 37, to see if the town will raise and appropriate such sums of money as may be necessary for the following accounts and appropriate $600 from the Woolwich Emergency Management Agency account and raise and appropriate $67,648 through taxation.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Longley.
Make a motion to dispense with the balance of the reading for those line items.
Good. Motion's been made and second. All those in favor of suspending the reading of Article 37 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Okay.
Move the article be accepted.
Second motion.
Article has been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Article 37. Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 37 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 37 passes. I'm going to bundle Article 38A and B 1-2. Article 38A, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $197,382 for the fire department account. The breakdown of the account is as follows.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Longley.
I'd like to dispense with the reading of each line item.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to suspend the reading of Article 38. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes.
Move the article be accepted.
I second the motion.
Article's been moved and seconded. Any discussion on Article 38, A, B, 1-2? Yes.
Just one question. What is the $10,000 yearly annual cost?
The question was, what is the $10,000 yearly annual cost? It's not specified there.
I'm going to recognize our fire chief, Chief Merrill.
So the yearly annual cost is everything that we have to require by NFPA and state regulations that we have to do every single year. So we have to test our SCBA every single year. I have to get things post-tested every single year. It's just a required thing.
So it's basically test.
Exactly. It's testing and making sure everything is up to snuff for what it's required.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 38, A and B, 1-2, signify. Yes. In the back there with the pink shirt, maybe.
Okay. I'm not being coerced. Tracy, again, from the Hawkmock Road. I do have a question for, how many employees are in the town of Woolwich? Everyone that you paid W-2 to.
Well, we're only on the fire department article, ma'am, so we're not going to talk about the other.
Well, this is about the
employees.
stipends.
What is that now?
Okay, are we paying the paid family medical leave to the fire department? On the
I
stipends?
defer to the chief on that. Chief, how many firefighters do we have?
25.
Right, and are they getting W-2s or 1099s?
W-2s.
W-2s, okay, so the town of Woolwich is paying 1% towards paid family medical leave instead of 0.5%. 15 or more employees, it's 1%. You could actually save a lot of money if you gave 1099s to the fire department without taking out that 0.5% from their checks and 0.5% from the town of Woolwich.
You have to make at least $600 and some of the firefighters
No.
who volunteers do not.
No, the amount of money, and it's based on employee count. It doesn't matter if they're getting a pay once or twice a year, it doesn't matter. They can make $5 a year. If they're getting a W-2, and you have 15 or more employees, it's 1% for the town, and that's our tax money. That 0.5% from the town is our tax money.
Okay.
Our requirement is you have to make $600 or more in order to obtain a 1099. And some of these volunteers make $100 and, $50 a year.
Okay, Kim, so that is your rules, because that's not state regulation.
Let's just, ask the question, and let's not just make assumptions.
Well, I work for paid family medical leave, so I'm very well versed in the amounts that are paid out. In a lot of towns, like yourselves, if you're going to continue doing the W-2, you can do a private plan and still save money.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, all those in favor of Article 38, A, B, and 1 and 2, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 38 passes. Article 39, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $0 for the catastrophic repair account. Last year was $15,000.
Move the article.
Article's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none. All those in favor of Article 39 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, no. Article 39 passes. I'm going to bundle Article 40A through B. Article 40A, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $391,244 for the Emergency Medical Services Department. The breakdown of the account is as follows.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Longley.
I'd like to dispense with the reading of the balance of those line items.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to suspend the reading. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay.
Move the article is accepted.
Second motion.
Article 40 has been moved and seconded. I want to make one note and then I'll open the discussion. The note is that there's potential to bring in $140,000 in revenue, which will be used to offset the cost of the service. Any other discussion? Article 39. Yes. Over here, sorry.
Okay, just again, an explanation of annual fees, contingency, and outreach. What are those?
Okay, I'm going to recognize our EMS director. He's coming right up.
So for EMS, the annual fees include, we have to relicense with the state each year, we have to pay a medical director each year, we have software that we have to use. There are fees that come annually. Either our laboratory licensing to do glucometer sticks, we have to have a license for that. And the annual fees pay those things. It's not something we can just do each line item. Outreach is public outreach, so when we buy things for the for the open house, when we buy blood pressure cards to help our patients, when we go to people's homes, we can give them brochures or information. That's what that is for. And what was the other one? Contingency is something the select board asked me to put in just because if we go over in something or we're short a little bit on something, we have a little amount of money to help.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
Sir?
Yeah, I think this was in the
Oh, one more.
I think that the savings was included last year as well. I can't remember the number, I think it was 150,000. I just was curious, did we see that savings from last year?
Do you mean the revenue?
Yeah.
Yes, the revenue.
So last year we estimated 120,000. For this current fiscal year, we're actually more at 140,000. We've gotten a lot more calls, and that's insurance billing, things like that. That's not a number we can fix because we don't know how many calls we're gonna get, we don't know how much we're gonna get from insurance. We're basing it on the number of calls and what we have been getting. Also, there's a billing line item. That's may go over, may go under, again, that's all dependent on that revenue and billing.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 40, A and B, signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 40, A and B passes. Article 41, to see if the town will vote to appropriate $400 from the snowmobile registration reimbursement for the Nequassa Trailbreaker Snowmobile Club.
Move the article be accepted.
Second motion.
Motion's been made second to place article on the floor. Any discussion?
I had a question. Why does the map area food bank donation amount?
We're on Article 41, sir.
Oh, I'm
That's the
sorry,
next
that was
one.
too early. I thought they.
One more.
Sorry.
No worries. Any other discussion? Yes. She's coming. Hang on.
I just wondered, just out of curiosity, do they keep the trails for these people who pay? Okay. That's what I thought, but I wasn't sure.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 41 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Article 41 passes. Article 42, to see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $24,141 for the following local agencies.
Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Longley.
Get up.
Do I have a second? Motion's been made second to waive the reading of Article 42. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. Place it on the floor. Oh, wait, we gotta put it on the floor first.
Move the article be accepted as read.
Article's been moved and seconded. Any discussion?
Yeah, just a short question. Why is the food bank been reduced?
That's the amount that the lady that runs the food bank asked us to give.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Article 42 signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion, Article 42 passes. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion passes.